Great to be here, guys. All right, get ready to see Snapchat stories everywhere. Snap Inc. is working on a new way to show its billions of user-generated videos outside of the Snapchat app. The new project is called Stories Everywhere and is led by Raul Chopra, a former News Corp exec and CEO of social data analytics firm Storyful. According to our sources, the new initiative is seen internally as a way for the company to grow its user base in the face of concerns over its business growth. While still in early development, Snapchat's Stories Everywhere product is aimed at making it easier to discover videos shared in the app on other websites and apps. The move echoes Twitter's 2011 decision to let content publishers embed tweets on their websites, and it would mark the first time that Snap has allowed its videos to be widely distributed. With Stories Everywhere, Snap hopes to entice new users by better highlighting its collections of crowdsourced videos for everything from breaking news events to concerts and sports games. For the first time, Snap could also give other apps the ability to show its curated collections of user videos, which the company calls Our Stories. Doing so could potentially open up a new way for Snap to make money from licensing. This upcoming Stories Everywhere product comes on the heels of Snapchat's big redesign, which the company announced about a month ago, and is yet to be made broadly available to users. Now, alongside the recent hiring of Chopra, Snap has also restructured its content team, led by longtime VP Nick Bell. An internal Snap memo obtained by Cheddar details multiple new roles that have been created as Bell's content division becomes increasingly important for driving Snapchat's new algorithmic Discover feed. The recently hired Mike Su now leads all content-related product development, including the publishing tools used by Snapchat's dozens of media partners. And former Now This president Sean Mills will continue to oversee all of Snapchat's original show efforts, along with the programming for the new Discover feed. Longtime Snap employee Josh Stone now spearheads all of Snap's relationships with media companies. Snapchat's redesign is still in the process of being slowly made available to all of the app's 178 million users, and Snap declined to comment for this story. Brad and JD?
All right, this is amazing. Okay, huge movement here. What's the goal of all this reshuffling that's taking place at Snap?
Well, in a separate memo sent to Snap employees and reviewed by Cheddar, Content VP Nick Bell outlined Snap's 2018 content goals. So they include calls to increase the overall output of content in the Discover feed, which makes sense with the redesign, widen Snapchat's own content distribution, hence Stories Everywhere, and double down on news in general. So this is the first time that Snap has worked to make its content visible outside of its own app.
Mr. Alex Heath, from your perspective, why would they look to roll this out now? I'm curious.
Well, we all know Snap user growth is not what investors hope it would be, right? So they've seen slowing user growth since they went public, even before. And funny enough, I've heard that this is a thing that's been tossed around internally at Snap for a while. And I imagine that given the pressure they now face to grow their user base and to get awareness out there, this is a pretty natural thing for them to do, right? Because of how siloed Snapchat content is today.
All right, so taking a step back here as well, we know that Twitter has done this in the past, making some of their tweets embeddable. Just how much of a cue is Snap taking from the previous predecessor here in terms of these embeds, Twitter, and will there be a difference in approach to how Stories Everywhere works?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think Twitter is definitely an inspiration. Interestingly enough, I've heard from people close to Snap that Snap actually wants to avoid some of the mistakes that Twitter made with how it rolled out its embed product, because as you've seen, once a tweet has been embedded somewhere, it's very easily manipulated, it's screenshotted, it's put on air, Twitter no longer has control over the content, right? So I think Snap wants to be more thoughtful in how they roll this out and keeping their content theirs, right? And making sure that it doesn't get manipulated or edited. So I think they're still figuring it out. This is still very much in the early stages. Chopra was just brought on this month, but they're definitely aware of how things have gone for Twitter, and they want to avoid some of those pitfalls.
Alex, let's go over to the restructuring part of this that you indicated at the top of your report there. Do you see this as being a significant sign, perhaps, that the content division of Snapchat is becoming increasingly more important, something that the company is looking to lean into perhaps a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, this signals that a division that has been important but has been relatively small compared to the rest of Snap is starting to staff up. They're starting to build organizations within the greater content organization, because as we know with the Snapchat redesign, the Discover feed is a huge part of it, right? And that's what this content team is responsible for. They're responsible for user-generated content that makes it into the feed, along with Snap's 70 plus Discover partners that they have now. So yes, absolutely.
I want to come back to another element that you mentioned just a moment ago, doubling down on news. What does this idea mean, especially as we know they've tried to work with some of these news outlets, these historical players before? So what does this doubling down on news mean in this new day of announcements for Snap?
Yeah, well, as we saw with the redesign announcement, Snap is interested in separating the social from the media, right? That's what Evan Spiegel said when the redesign was announced. So they see an opportunity to be unlike Facebook and have news content completely separate from conversations with your friends, right? So in the redesign, your friends live on the left side of the app, and Discover and publishers live on the right. So that's an opportunity to better distinguish, I think, they see news from everything else, and it helps them keep away from some of the fake news problems that Facebook and Google have seen. They also have human employees at Snap that review all of this stuff. Everything that makes it into the Discover feed is reviewed by a person. So in terms of adding new content, in terms of adding a featured story, a human looks at it. So that's something that differentiates them from Facebook, and it's an investment they're going to have to keep building over time as Discover hopefully becomes more popular.